All right, everybody, good morning. So we are kicking off team meeting 425. Normally, we would have met third Friday of the month, so that would have been last week, but I was out of town for a buddy's wedding. So I wanted to reschedule so we have an opportunity to cover some topics. This morning, I want to kick off. I do have Trisha here. There was recently an update on specifically the MRSA policy, from a testing standpoint.
Which
And I
still
wanted,
is in the process
Is
of
it?
being approved.
but I did want to bring her in so we can go over any questions that folks might have about MRSA testing, chlorhexidine baths, COVID, flu testing, things of that nature. Trisha, I'll let you hand off.
Okay, so what questions, before we start on the education piece, what questions do you have? Anybody?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Yes, so I understand that we need MRSA if they're being admitted to the ICU. Do we need to test them if they're being admitted to med-surg?
No, we test. So if they're coming to med-surg, usually they are surgical. And so hopefully they would have already had their test. However, if they're getting a central line or a pick on the floor, it's always good to test just in case, because staph of any kind is one of the most prevalent organisms that infect the central lines, including picks. So I'll be honest, we haven't formalized the changes, but for those of you who don't know, if somebody has a central line, including a pick, they should be getting a chlorhexidine bath every day to prevent any infections in their central line. So we don't give them a bloodstream infection. That's probably more information that you want than you wanted, but did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yes, thank you for that.
Other questions?
Cheryl's got one.
Yeah, this came up because in the standards of care in Meditech, it's automatically prompting us to do a MRSA test. So this was why I brought the question up, as to we've kind of just been ignoring it, and it's like, well, do we ignore it? When do we do it? So if we're not to do it, then is this something that we should have taken out of that standards of care in the Meditech, or how are we supposed to check that off then?
Right, so where is it appearing in Meditech?
It's in the standards of care.
Okay,
It
so,
automatically comes up.
It's a per protocol. It doesn't say MRSA swab now. It's MRSA swab per protocol is what it says.
so we can ignore it.
When the hospital is put in their admitting orders,
Thank you.
it's automatically on there.
So, Cheryl, I would ignore it
Okay.
unless, once we get the policy, any of you are welcome to attend the infection prevention meeting, which will be in mid-June when Dr. Lee is here. It's usually on a Thursday, at 1 o'clock. But if you have other questions about that protocol, let me know so I can bring it up at the meeting. For right now, just ignore, unless
Okay,
it's
great.
somebody getting a central line. And if they had surgery, they will have already had their MRSA. Now, here's another nursing thing. If they test positive, often our hospitalists omit treatment for it. So we just use alcohol swabs like the ones we use pre-surgery to treat them twice a day. just as a precaution, there are studies out there that mupirocin is the medication of choice. However, there's becoming a resistance to mupirocin and there isn't to alcohol swabbing. So, please ask your physician if they would like to treat if somebody is positive so that we can be safer.
Just because it's a positive swab doesn't mean that they're an active case.
Correct.
It just means that they're colonized.
Correct, but they pick their nose. I'll just be honest. They pick their nose and it goes all over and MRSA lives on surfaces for a very long time. So this is just a precaution. We didn't have a ton of positive MRSA swabs actually in 24, which I think lends itself to verifying that what we're doing for our folks is working. Other questions? So, surgeries, if someone comes to the floor, post-surgically, they get a CHG bath for 5 days. All patients in the ICU get a CHG bath for the length of time that they're there at night. And I think that's everything from the MRSA side. Other questions about MRSA? I take that as a no. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the invitation.
Any questions on COVID, flu?
I do have a question on the MRSA. So what about if we get a patient from another facility? Like Henderson brings down our swing beds, or we get somebody from IHS or a long-term care facility. Traditionally, we should be swabbing them for MRSA as well.
Correct. As I said, so we have two policies. One is preventing multi-drug resistant organism policy, and one is about who you swab. I'm trying to combine them. We are having quite a good discussion about who we should swab. I'm with you. Nursing homes notorious, bigger hospitals notorious for having positive folks, so.
Yeah, fuck.
Bless you. So I prefer to err on the side of caution. I mean, I don't want us to get our underwear in a bunch over all this, but let's not give our folks anything. You know, they wouldn't be in the hospital if they weren't sick. So we don't want to give them anything else. So does everybody understand about precautions for them? It is not standard, it is contact, which means you need to wear gloves and a gown. The gown does you absolutely no good if you do not tie it. And when ACHC, our accrediting body, comes, they are going to ask some of you to don and doff PPE. So make sure when you take your gown off that you roll it into itself and throw it away in the room. So, but MRSA is contact precautions, even if they're colonized in their nose. So, other questions? Okey doke, thank you so much.
Thanks, Trish. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Trish.
So I was wanting to have the HR team here this morning, but I haven't seen them come through. Oh, cool. Perfect. Good timing.
Everyone.
Morning, Miss Regina. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
So, one of the topics on the docket for today, that I want to be able to address with the overall team. I've been out of office for about the last 2 weeks, for practically the month of April. Part of the month, we went, at the beginning of the month, we went for a cruise. Came back, I was here for a week, and then last week I had, my best friend getting married. I took off to Charleston. And coming back from that trip, and even prior to going on that trip, one of the things that I kind of noticed pervasively throughout the team is this growing sense of gossip, rumor, backstabbing action, people speaking behind each other's backs. And if you guys remember, this is something that we worked really, really hard for, like over the last 2.5 years to practically eliminate. And I would definitely say that, within the last year, I've seen significant improvement in those regards. And I do have to say I am very proud, still very proud of the team that we have and where we're at. But sometimes we have to revisit these topics when these things come up. And it's an important refresher for professional conduct, right? Kind of the fundamental point that I want to make here is regardless of the content of the information that's being shared, right? My expectation is that we are maintaining professionalism at all times, right? That we are not targeting or trying to loop behind any individuals back in the organization, right? The if there are ever concerns about other staff members or what could be going on in their home life, what's going on at work, if you have concerns for a reduction in their professionalism, or you have a concern about an ethical concern about something that they're doing or have done, whether that's coming into work drunk or high, or maybe you're worried that they're, a victim of domestic violence at home. Maybe you find out some information on Facebook that they're getting a divorce, right? People's lives are going to be integrated into work. We spend a lot of time here with each other. We see each other a lot. We build a family here, right? And an important aspect of building that family is being able to trust and depend on the people that you work with, right? And when we do see a compromise of professionalism in individuals and their actions, it behooves us to make sure that we are either reporting that to the appropriate authorities in the hospital, whether that's myself, the HR team, or the ethical compliance team, right? And not taking that information and utilizing it for your own gain, right, to spread throughout the team. It's not the culture that we're trying to build here, right? Um, the thing that really is disappointing me right now about this more than anything is I see you guys, I see how far we've come, right? I see the challenges, trials, and tribulations that we've faced in the last 2.5 years. I see how positive our team is interacting together now and the amazing work that we're accomplishing right now, which we really are. And I see this manufacture of drama as an anchor for our team. And I think it's something that we can definitely snip, get rid of. I want you guys to be able to go to each other and have open conversations, right? If there's a concern that you have about one of your teammates, to pull them aside in the break room, just one-on-one and be able to address that with them, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I've seen some of these things that are going on. It's got me concerned about, you know, your professionalism at work or what it may be, right? Or if you're not comfortable having that conversation with that person one-on-one, then drag me in there and I'd be more than happy to help facilitate that kind of a conversation, or the HR team, right? Um, when we take information, we go behind each other's backs and, you know, share that throughout the team, especially if the information isn't accurate, right? Um, then we undermine the overall health of the team. We undermine me, we undermine the hospital, we undermine our patient care. Um, and we start to erode at what we're trying to build. So, Regina, if there's a couple things that you may have to say, I just want this to be we're better than this. We're better than this.
You know that gossip is like a small grain of truth and the rest is just embellished. And it always amazes me how far they go and all the crap I hear that from one little teeny thing, how it mushroomed to this gigantic thing. And then when you delve back into it, it was nothing. But it just, everybody that it went to had a little bit different version and it kept going on and on. The hospital has a compliance code of conduct, which is on the policies and procedures under hospital wide. And it's very, very to the point. And one of them is employees will act with respect towards patient, residents, fellow employees, visitors, medical staff, and volunteers. And if you don't work together as a team, it's really detrimental to the hospital. I've been here a long time, and this to me is the best we've done in a long time, but yet there's the gossip that just drives me nuts. And I know it has to do with so much social media now that everything's online. I mean, I don't get on that crap because, you know, I see my grandkids. That's enough for me. I don't need to get involved in any of it. But some of the stuff that people bring me about, why would you post that? You know, God, where's your brain at? But they do. So that's the age we're living in, the kids. And it constantly amazes me because my grandkids and my great grandkids are all on the phone. They're all doing all of it. And it just, so you have to be careful because what you say to somebody could ruin their career. And you certainly don't want to be responsible for that. If you can't get along with somebody, then stay the hell away from them. You know, don't make up gossip and anything that it would cause them to be harmed or you to be harmed. We won't tolerate it. And if I find somebody constantly doing, I'll fire them because we don't need it. We've worked too hard to come this far. I've been here a very long time and we are at our top of our game right now, and I don't want to go backwards. But if you have issues, don't be afraid to reach out to any of us. We deal with it all the time. We help you get through it. We work on resolving any problems. You'll never get in trouble for talking to us. There's no such thing as retaliation here because you'll get fired for that too. I'm not going to put up with it. But yet we're a team and we have to work together. And if, to me, when I come to work, I leave my problems at that door, and when I walk in the door, I'm a professional person, and I treat everybody that way. I know we joke around and kid a lot, and that's okay, because we work in a very high-stressed area, and sometimes that's a way to blow off steam, is, you know, to joke, but not at somebody's expense, because that hurts. You know, in my years, I had all kinds of rumors about me. I don't pay attention to them because I could give a shit one way or the other. But I could see where somebody that had a little bit of a thin skin, it would be terrible and it would hurt. So just keep that in mind, that treat people how you want to be treated. I know that's an old saying, but it's really true. If you treat somebody with respect, they'll treat you with respect. If you've got an issue with have the nuts and the balls to go talk to them. Don't talk to everybody else that can't solve it. Go to the person that can solve it. I'm not talking about him, I'm just looking at you guys. But to me, that's the only way to do it. Yeah, have the courage to talk to the person one-on-one, say what your problems are. More than likely, you'll solve them right there, and that'll be the end of it, and it won't go any farther. But talking to a coworker that has nothing to do with it, can't solve it for you, and will probably make it worse.
Thanks, Regina. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Anybody like a copy of the compliance code? It's just curious, but it's always online for anybody that would like to read it. It's lengthy, but it's kind of our Bible. Good.
All good?
All right.
Thanks, Regina.
Thank you, guys. You know, I love my little hospital with all my people.
So I do want to go over, next I have on the agenda on-call time and projects. But I do want to bring up, if you guys were not aware, and for our dietitian, her husband's service is gonna be tomorrow at noon at the VFW in town. So if you aren't working, you don't have any plans for tomorrow, I'm planning on being there. You know, Ann's one of those people in this hospital that every single time that she walks into the department, she's always in a good mood. She always has high energy. She spreads that with love and care everywhere she goes. She's definitely one of the best human beings that I think I've met in my life. And she brings me up when I'm not feeling the best, right? So if you're available, I encourage you, swing by the VFW tomorrow at noon. It's gonna be a celebration of life. This isn't a drab affair, right? I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to bring anything. In fact, please don't bring anything that's going to be more work that she already has at the massive home that she's living in. So she's got enough on her plate as far as that regards. More than anything, she just needs that support from us. So if you guys are available, you've got some time, swing down here noon tomorrow at the BFW. They're gonna have like chili dogs and chili sizes and stuff like that. And then they're gonna do like a PowerPoint presentation with a bunch of pictures of her and her husband over the years doing their bike rides and stuff like that. So I encourage you guys, if you've got that connection with Ann, you've got that time to come down, or if you just want to come out and show your support, please do. So this is one of our solid team members that's going through a pretty tough time in her life, and god damn it, is she handling it like a champ, I'm telling you. So from there, let's roll into, I know, kind of coming back into the fold. I want to let you guys know I'm kind of back for a little while. The most of the trips and time off and whatnot that I'm pretty much gonna have for the entire year is done. I do have a conference that I'm going to be going to in like the beginning of June. It's the AZ Flex conference. It's gonna be based out of Flagstaff. It's effectively just a bunch of critical access hospitals from across the state of Arizona that go and network, right? They're supposed to have something like 100 booths with products and software and stuff like that. It's a idea gathering event that Steve's asked me to go to. So outside of that, I don't really have any other major vacation plans for the rest of the year. I may have like little 3-day weekend things that I'll do, but for the most part, I'm back with you guys. So coming back into the fold, one of the leading concerns that I've been hearing from pretty much across the board from all staff is concern about hours coming up in the summer. It's a concern every single year. And, you know, I have people come to me and say, do I need to get a second job? Do I need to just quit and go somewhere else? And I want to assure you guys that there is plenty for us to be doing. And I've got a short list of things that I've put together. And in fact, what I have written down, for those of you that can see on the screen, you guys can't see, so you just have to listen as I go through. And I have these kind of in an order of how I would like them to be prioritized. So, number one on the list is chart audits, right? So unfortunately for our CNAs and our techs, this isn't something that's necessarily going to apply. This is strictly for our nursing and our LPNs. We are behind by about fewer now, because I've got a few people that have already started working on them, but we're behind by about 300 chart audits. And if you were not aware, survey window opens on Monday. So Monday is the start of survey window, and what that means is anytime from Monday going through until the first or second week of October, ACHC, the accrediting body. If you don't know what ACHC is, just think JCO. If you've ever worked in another hospital setting, they effectively are the same concept. They're just a company that's designed for critical access hospitals. They come in, they have a standard that they have. It's probably 18 plus chapters that they go through and effectively line out what the standards are for how the hospital's supposed to be operating. And prior to their visit, they'll give us about a 1 week advance notice. So starting Monday, going until the first or second week of October, they could walk through those doors practically at any time, right? And so naturally, that means that we are in scramble mode to get things ready to go, right? One benefit that we have is that this survey is going to cover 3 years worth of content, right? So the majority of the content that they're going to be reviewing is going to be coming out of our old documentation systems. Okay, so, and if I recall correctly, and I'm just as proud to stand corrected if need be. But we had things pretty well squared away in CPSI before we made our transition. So there's a lot of folks kind of around the hospital that are in scramble mode, trying to get everything in Meditech fixed like ASAP because of this survey that's coming up. But the kind of the blessing in disguise is they're really going to be looking at the last 3 years worth of content, not just what we've been doing in Meditech since we went live with Meditech, right? So we do get a little bit of grace, right? With the fact that our Meditech isn't completely up and exactly where we want it to be, right? So with that being said, one of the primary objectives that I want focused on any day that there is going to be staff on call is chart audits, right? Ideally, just like our priority is to get every tech trained in the ward clerk position, right? So that way we have cross-trained individuals that can cover in that area. I want every nurse that works in my departments to know how to do chart audits, okay? And reason one, it helps to improve your ability to chart when you know what to look for, right? By completing chart audits, okay? Number two, eventually, once we get things shored up, and ideally before the end of May, I'm going to have a plan put together on the distribution of chart audits as far as to keep this up going forwards, okay? I haven't targeted exactly what that's gonna look like yet. If you have ideas, I'm more than happy to listen and hear from you about what those ideas might be. Perhaps what you've done at other hospitals to keep chart audits shored up. My intention with this is not to try and identify ways to, increase work for people, right? Particularly on shift, okay? Right now, and especially going into the drier season, this is an excellent opportunity for folks to get some additional hours, okay? And as we are currently behind, this is one of the number one priorities for us to get caught up and shored up on, okay? Because it is one of the things that they are going to be looking at when they come in, okay? Jerry Thomas, Erica Espinoza, Madison Morris, Angela, and a handful of other folks are already actively working on chart audits. They're increasing their competency and speed of efficiency in that area. This is one of those areas that in order to do the chart audits right now, you almost need someone that knows how to do them to show you at least some of the fastest way to go about doing it. You could figure it out on your own, especially in Meditech. It's probably a lot easier in that program. But what I can say is that we are working on putting together like a field guide similar to the one that we built for how to use Meditech back in October of last year. That's just going to be focused on chart audits in Meditech so that we can streamline that process. It'll be chock full of screenshots and how-to information as far as where to source all the information. Questions on chart audits? Anybody online?
I'm here.
I just wanted to add to that if you're gonna come in for night shift, IT does have to reset your password. So if you're planning on doing chart audits, I would do it like either leave a note or figure out how, because it's really frustrating to like you have to wait on them to reset it and you're trying to get going on your day. So it's kind of a going in the first time to do it is kind of like a process.
And you're talking
So I
about
would,
in CPSI,
yeah,
Erica?
in CPSI, like if you're gonna, because we're into July right now doing them. So just it was like harder to like figure out everything we needed kind of thing. So it kind of got, that's what the frustrating part is. And then going into CPSI and being like, yeah, I don't remember any of this, especially because a lot of the tabs are locked out, like where our flow sheets were that because I used to do them prior to Terry, the chart audits. And a lot of them, because IT and everybody squared away CPSI, it's not what it looks like now, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's not what it used to look like the little flow charts that we could open prior to look at the care plans and all of the other like requirements for the audits. It's not the way it used to be. So you have to go through the clinical history. But if anybody needs help, like you said, Maddie, myself, Jerry knows where to look for that information. For anybody for night shift, if you want to grab one of us before you leave to show you the tabs really quick, that's going to probably be the easiest way to be more efficient.
Any other questions on chart audits? So next item on the list, and this is something that our techs and CNAs can help with. And in fact, our techs and CNAs are kind of our target audience for a lot of the content on this one. Department organization, cabinet and drawer labeling, right? Everything in the department should have a home, somewhere that item or object resides, and it's a perma home. It doesn't leave, it doesn't move. So that way you can find the labels for the label maker every single time you open that cabinet or drawer that is labeled with the content that is inside that cabinet or drawer, right? This is something that is going to take a bit of an undertaking in order to accomplish, okay? But what I need someone that is willing to step forward and help coordinate the changes that are being made, okay? Because if we have 8 different people all working on trying to organize at the same time, it'll create a chaos, right? Because every person's going to have a slightly different idea on where things should be kept, okay? So we want to be able to have a standardization of this, okay? And going forwards, once we have everything where it's supposed to live, and we've determined where those locations are going to be, we've labeled those areas, we're also going to need help going forward in perpetuity to make sure that those areas are being kept basically policed, right? So that things are continuing to be checked. Oh, hey, somebody put this back here. That's not where it goes. It actually goes in this drawer that's labeled for that type of stuff, right? The specificity that we're looking for. It is going to be a bit nuanced, right? Trying to throw a label on a drawer that lists every brand of pen, staple, Post-it, you name it, that is in that drawer would be asinine, okay? So, so labeling it something to the effect of office supplies, parenthesis, pens, Post-its, you know, list three things, etc., close parenthesis, that would probably be more than sufficient, okay? Although there are some things that we are definitely going to want to ensure that is very clearly labeled. So say like our policy book, okay? That's something that we would want to make sure that the label that's on that cabinet very clearly indicates that that's where that is, okay? So if you are a person or persons that are very organizationally focused and that you are interested in taking lead on a project that will help the rest of your team, okay, this is something that will be for you, okay? It is going to be somewhat of a hefty undertaking, but what I want to assure you is that if you need any supplies for organizing stuff, drawer organizers, file stackers, whatever it might be, okay? We will get that stuff ordered for you. Very simple. Anyone in this hospital can go onto the Staples website, do a little bit of shopping around, find what it is that you want to be able to put in place. Grab the web link, put it in an email, send it over to our materials manager, Amanda, in the materials department with me CC'd on that email, right? So that way I can see what this product is that you're requesting and so I can approve it, right?
Kegger at the workstation.
What's that, bud?
Kegger at the workstation.
Oh, you want a kegger at the workstation? Might as well just go for the full-on beer fridge if you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Just do a kegerator, you know? So if this is something you're interested in working on, this is an exceptional downtime project. So when we're going to have on call, I want you to be able to come in, put together a well-developed plan, right? Identify ahead of time where you're planning on organizing and placing things, okay? And then you will have an opportunity to loop back, okay? With myself, we can walk through together, take a look at where you're planning on putting things, make sure that it is well organized, that it's in places that make sense. Most things already kind of have a home, right? So, and we don't want to disturb the natural order unless the natural order is chaos currently, okay? So this is something that I want to be able to accomplish before survey gets here, okay? And I want it to be able to be maintained going forwards. So that way we have kind of a standardization of where things are. Okay?
If you use it, replace it.
Yeah, I've got to replenish, always replenish. Going forwards from there, any questions on department organization, cabinet labeling, anything of that nature? Okay, if you're interested in being part of that project, shoot me a text, shoot me an email offline. I'll get with you, we'll coordinate, come up with a game plan to execute them. Moving on, next item of priority on the list. This is something that is going to be a combination of everyone on the team working together, okay? We have what are called EOC rounds. Some of you in this room may have completed EOC rounds before or on this call. A lot of you probably have not. It's a very standardized format, kind of department survey that is provided from the Plan Ops team to every department. Typically, we are only having to complete these once every 3 months. We've been doing them way more frequently of late. Because what this departmental survey does is it effectively is preparing our department for life safety survey and for a lot of the plant operations type things that get caught on survey. So everything from finding dust in places that there shouldn't be, right? To identifying tainted ceiling tiles, right? To identifying, so like on the last one that was completed, somebody found that, you know, for probably years now, we've had the crash carts sitting, we've had the defibrillators sitting on the crash carts without a power strip or without specifically a surge protector, right? So they were able to catch that while going through this survey. We've since got those ordered. They're going to be installed. So basically the defibrillator just plugs into the surge protector and the surge protector plugs into the wall. Okay. So every single time that we go through this form, there's going to be opportunities for us to catch things that we've missed in the past, right? Every person's going to have a little bit more of an eye for different things that are on that survey.
Can I say something? So I think that part of that also includes like something that I kept noticing yesterday is they also look for like safety hazards or safety concerns. So like I was letting the aides know yesterday that they can't be plugging in the Dynamaps in front of the fire extinguishers. There's not supposed to be anything plugged in or around. It has to have a clear space. And then also keeping everything on one side of the hallway.
Yeah.
Because we keep plugging in like the computers or the Dynamaps or whatever they're called, on both sides. And that's something else that they look for. There has to be a clear pathway. And then the doors, the fire exit doors, there can't be computers sitting in front of those. You have to have clear, so just things to be mindful of. So if you're walking by and you see it, just move it.
Do we already know offhand which side of the department has better outlet hookups?
Well, it depends on which way you're looking at it.
The site, because I have the most plugs. The site.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
The even side.
Yes.
the eastern part of the hallway, effectively. The eastern wall. That's to the east.
Yeah.
So away from the river, right?
Correct.
So what I'd like to do is I want to establish the east side wall to be our standard for where we plug things in and leave them. Okay, so if you are on the wall and plugged in on the wall that is on the river side of the hospital, okay, it's not in the right spot. It needs to be moved. Now, if you're there temporarily, right, you're standing there at your wow, you've got it plugged in there for just a moment because you're standing outside of a patient's room, and then you're getting ready to move within the next 60 to 180 seconds, right? Okay, that's understandable, but as long as when things are left sitting in the hallway, right? Whether it's the vital signs machines, the wows, the crash cart is currently on that wall, right? We want to make sure that everything is on one side of the hallway. We don't have cuddies down the hallway, right, to be able to park stuff into. We don't have a significant quantity of storage space to be able to hide things, right? So we want to make sure that the space that we do have, we're using it and using it correctly. That rolls into what I've just summed up in this moment to be called room clearance. So room clearance meaning whether you are going through doing EOC rounds or you are just popping into a room to wash your hands, right? And you walk in and you find, 8 bedside tables, 9 recliners, 4 beds, that type of thing, okay? Per the guideline, okay, it is okay for us to utilize a room temporarily as storage. The guideline specifically reads that if you have a patient room that is designated as a patient room for the utilization of caring for a patient, you have to be able to clear that room and have it ready for a patient within a 24-hour time period. Okay, so having a couple of beds and extra tables squished into a room isn't the end of the world, okay? Because we can still get that all moved probably in under an hour, right? However, if we are able to have all of the rooms set up the way that they are intended, and if we do have any leftover beds, extra beds, we do have somewhere we can store stuff. It's a Connex box, right? That's out in the back of the hospital. Okay. So this is one of those things that when there's downtime and, as we're prepping for survey, one of the things that you can do, pop through every single room, right? And then also look for the standardization in that room. If it is set up to be able to take a patient, right? There are certain things that have to be in there, okay, in order for that to truly be ready to go. And that's not even for survey stuff. That's just for our own team to be able to work better together on things like that, right? So that that room truly is ready to go. And that's suction, O2, IV pole, one IV pump, the bed's tucked and ready to go, the bathroom's clean, the sink is clean, all the lights in the room should be off, the door should be closed, right? So that way that room is spick span ready to go, right? If you're curious about exactly what should be in every single room, please check with your charge nurses. They know it off the back of their hand, okay? And then the last one I have on that list is survey compliance, right? We already kind of talked about some survey compliance stuff, like keeping everything to one side of the hallway, okay? There's other aspects of survey compliance that we can also be monitoring for as well throughout the department. And that's everything from simple things like hand washing to the the fingernail policy that I sent out recently, right? Now is the accreditation company gonna come out with a tape measure and they're gonna measure the length of your fingernails to make sure that they really are a quarter of an inch long? Probably not, right? But if you've got some monster fingernails going on, you bet they're gonna pull you aside and ask you what's going on, right? From there, one of the next projects that I do want to prioritize is reorganization as a supply room. This is something that's going to be extremely engaged project. It's going to take one person leading in order to get everything reorganized and labeled. We've got some concepts already laid out for what we would like this to look like, but this is effectively the same as department organization and cabinet drawer and labeling. The point behind it is to standardize how our supply room is set up, so that way any person that walks in there, every single item is kept in the same bin, in the same location, grouped with the same correct items, right? We're looking at color coordination. We're looking at making the process of scanning supplies easier. So there's a couple of items that are already in play on this, ideas that are already in play. But it is going to take some manpower, right, to actually physically move these things and get them coordinated to where they need to be. So step one on this project is going to effectively be drawing up an actual organizational map of where we want everything to actually be. Step two will be actually physically making that move, right? In between step one and step two will be ordering like the different types of colored boxes and things of that nature that we want to be able to reorganize this area. And then the intention behind this is that, during a code, you need to run into that room real fast and grab something. It's urgent, you're moving quickly, right? Things are color coordinated, you know exactly where you need to look. Things are not moving every other time you walk in that room, right? So it's consistent, and every time you go in there, you need 4x4s, you know exactly where to get them from, right? That's the purpose behind this, is to make our jobs easier, right? Do a lot of work on the front end, make it a lot easier for us on the day-to-day. And then the last item that I have on the list is health stream and cross training opportunities, right? So as you guys know, education training is one of those things that I'm very passionate about you guys being able to be engaged in. We have been slowly but surely going through health stream and finding opportunities for more education for staff. Tammy has found a program for critical care content that we're actually looking at making a standard for prior to people going to ED to cross train or to ICU to cross train. Robert's been working very closely with the education department, putting together educational materials in PowerPoints and presentations, working with that team. I have this on the bottom of the totem pole of priority right now because there are these other important survey items that we got to get prepped for. But at the same time, I do want you guys to have an opportunity to continue to grow your skills, to train in other departments if that's something that you want to do, right? And at a minimum, have an opportunity to do some refresher, especially as we're coming into the summer season. There's been some talk about ASU potentially bringing their simulation lab down here once the new metal building behind the PT rehab is completed. That new metal building will contain HIM, it'll contain central scheduling, it will contain all of the staff that are in both of the single wide trailers that we have sitting on the property. So the HR department, the business office, right? So all of those folks will be moving over to that metal building. The education department has something like 1,200 square feet allocated to them, right? Which is bigger than my house, okay? In a nice big square. So they're gonna have plenty of space to put things like our CPR dummies and our IV arms. And we're looking at potentially partnering with ASU to have a very fancy, expensive simulation lab brought down that we potentially will have the ability to use. I don't know when exactly that will be happening. Obviously, the building has to be completed first. It looks like they just finished putting on the roof, okay, which means that here pretty soon they're going to start working on the internals of that building. But if this is something that comes to fruition, what I want to be able to do, especially during summers, is doing training detachments where I basically go through and first rotation will probably be like take you off the schedule for a week to go over and do some training, but I'd like it to be 2 weeks, 80 hours worth of education that every member of the team is able to go over and complete. And what we're talking about, and these are some lofty ideas here, folks, okay, but they are things that could very easily become a reality if the right things happen, okay? But I want the training that's conducted in that area to be harder than anything that you've ever done before. So that way, when you come back from that training detachment, there's not a single thing in this department that you can't do because you didn't already see it in training, right? So yes, these are some distant goals. These are some very dependent on multiple variable goals, right? But if everything will come together, I foresee an excellent opportunity for us to continue to expand the amount of education we're able to provide at this organization for our staff. And I'm very excited about having the opportunity to see that happen because I don't know that I've ever worked in a hospital that is even able to provide what education we're able to provide right now. So with that, I will open it up. Anybody that has anything that they want to ask about or any comments, you're more than welcome to do so. And then after that, we'll close and we'll go to the weekend.
So that building
that-
that they're building is for education?
So that building that they're building is for multiple departments, Abram. So education is just one of the departments that's gonna reside over there.
Okay. They're gonna add like what, telemetry and stuff in there?
I'm sorry, sir. Ask that question again.
So they're gonna add like more departments like telemetry or orthopedics over there, or?
No, sir. So this is effectively going to be a non-clinical building.
Oh, I see.
So where our medical records department currently is, so we're sitting in the conference room right now. Just outside the conference room door, immediately on the right is the entrance to medical records. They've got a pretty decently sized office in there. They'll be one of the departments that'll be moving out, and so that'll free up some space in-house. So that's another benefit as well. So with some of these departments in-house that will be moving over to the new metal building, that's gonna open up some space in the main hospital building to be utilized for some things. And so, in fact, the plan for the HIM department space is to utilize it for swing stuff, right? We don't currently have a legitimate activities room or like kitchen area for swing patients. And so that's what they're looking at utilizing that space for.
Okay.
So, but this is still in discussion. There aren't any plans that have been drawn up yet on this, right? Obviously, this is all contingent upon, one, that building getting finished, two, actually physically moving all of those departments over to that area. So we're looking at probably within the next 6 months before we got an even better idea of what we're going to be doing with the space in-house that gets freed up.
All right.
Other questions?
Yeah, Ken, I've got one. I've got something I got to talk about too for pharmacy stuff.
Go for it, sir.
If I can I share my screen real quick? It's gonna be on a test.
Yeah.
All right, so for those of you at home, you can see this. For everyone else, I can always explain it on Monday, but the big thing I want to make you guys aware of is we're having some issues of just administering medications and not paying attention to the reason we're giving the medication. So here's two different kinds of medication orders. Both are morphine, both are 2 milligram IVP, Q4 PRN. The PRN reason, one is for severe pain. What we'll notice is the severe pain is greater than 8. Then we have one that's a PRN reason pain scale, 8 to 10. Is on this top one up here, severe pain greater than 8. Is 8 greater than 8? It's not. So you cannot give this medication if you have a pain scale of 8. It is a provider order. We need to make sure that we're paying attention because there is somebody on the floor currently right now as an active patient who has this medication as a severe pain greater than 8. I just want to remind you guys that our role as nurses are going to go far beyond just administering these medications. We're not here to be Pez dispensers. And I want you guys to know that your critical thinking and critical judgment are essential parts of keeping your patients safe. Take a moment, consider why we are giving these medications and what is the attendant outcome. If something doesn't seem right and you need more clarification, don't hesitate, reach out to your colleagues or speak with a provider directly. Your voice and your assessment are going to matter in these situations. This is also a big thing of you are not following a provider's order. We do not want you to get in trouble. We want you guys to be caring, take care of the patients and not have to worry about that. So just take the extra second, look at why you're given this medication and make sure you're following the correct procedure for it.
So this is one of those things too that, you know, if you catch it and you're like, hey, this is what we're actually using this for, and the way this order is written doesn't make sense and we need to get this changed, right? We're that second line of defense at all times for the providers. So when we see things of that nature, whether it's on the morphine order that John showed, right? Or any other order for PRN or otherwise medication that we're giving, and the specifics as far as the dosing instructions or the quantity, if it doesn't make sense, or if, you know, the patient's asking for pain medication more frequently than what's described in the actual order, and we need to get the frequency changed or we need to get the dosing instructions changed, that's on our shoulders to be able to ask, to find out, to get it adjusted so that it is in line, right, with what we're actually doing for that patient, right? The docs don't necessarily always catch this stuff when they're going through and putting in these orders, right? Or they may be utilizing a protocol and that protocol could be set up incorrectly, okay? So we're that second line of defense when we're going through. Does it mean that we have to be a little bit more observant, right? When we're going through and passing our meds? Yes, it does, but we should be, right? One of those things that the surveyors are going to be asking, and they will follow somebody's number on this call or in this room. Your number's gonna come up. And you're gonna get followed for MedPass. Okay? They're going to come and they're going to follow you from start to finish on your MedPass. Okay? And you do not want to be the person that saved the patient that has 17 medications to give at breakfast for that MedPass. Okay? So we'll talk about more strategies for all of you to be prepared come time for survey. But that's just one that I want to get into the water for you guys right now. When survey comes, you do not want to be the person that saved the patient with the most medications and then gets tapped on the head for a med pass, a survey, right? Because the expectation is that you educate that patient on all 17 of the medications that you're passing, that you do your pain scores perfectly, right? That you do all of your 5 rights for your medication pass, right? So, and yeah, it'll wreck your day. So, Cheryl, you got your hand up.
I just wanted to say this was a huge thing when I worked at the nursing home. And the biggest thing we got tagged on was Tylenol not being poured properly. Somebody would put in like their 6, when Tylenol is only meant for, like 3 to 5. So that
Okay.
was just want to back you up on that one, John, big time.
Anybody have anything else?
Are we going to have like, with the window opens on Monday?
Mm-hmm.
We have so many new people here that have never been through a survey
Sure.
to have like a mock so that everybody kind of understands what it's going to be like, because you can say it till you're blue in the face, but until you actually go through it, you really don't.
Do you really want to ask that question?
Huh?
Because I'm going to ask you to help me.
I'm just saying, because we've got a lot of new people in
Yeah, we
medicine
do.
that have never
We
experienced
do.
what a survey is.
We do.
and
And I need,
They don't even actually have to say anything to you. They're just standing there watching.
I understand.
So
So yeah, I need folks on the team. So again, this is another aspect of, on-call time or downtime that if you want to assist with prepping your coworkers for survey, if you want to come in and you want to do some mock survey stuff and you want to be part of getting us ready to go, getting people up to speed on what we should be doing, following somebody around for PPE, following somebody around for MedPass, things of that nature, okay? Please get a hold of me. I need help. I can't do that by myself, right? Especially not on every shift. Okay, so if this is an area that interests you to be able to help prep the team, step up, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'd be more than happy to take the help. We need it. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Keen,
So, sorry. So if you could let Amy know so that if I'm going to put you on call, then I don't put you on call and you can come in to do that the next day. Just let Amy or John or whoever know that's charged that day. Okay.
All right.
I wanted to add with the morphine that you guys were talking about, the MAR. Also, I noticed one of them that was indicated for severe pain, but it was actually given for oxygen hunger and shortness of breath. So we really need to make sure that those indications for why we're giving the medication is appropriate. Because that was another example, Keenan, that we had, that I seen there's the pain scale and then the severe pain, and then there was another one that was ordered, like the physician just ordered it like for severe pain, but we were like, okay, well, you have to put another order because you're saying to give it for shortness of breath or oxygen hunger. And that's another one that, we have to make sure that that's also added.
Yeah, there always has to be a reason for why we're giving a medication, right? There has to be a reason behind why it is that we're giving what we're giving, right? It needs to be clearly delineated, okay? At all times,
So is that something that we are allowed to go in and change that order then?
not necessarily.
Because I know I'm guilty of that.
Not necessarily, unless you have confirmation from the physician as to why it is you're changing what you're changing,
Mhm.
right? If you wanna make sure that you have that, that approval, whether it's a telephone order change, right, or a verbal order change, okay? And yeah, is it gonna upset the docs if, you have to go back and talk to them 5 times in one day because they put in 5 incorrect orders? Okay, well, it's their job to make sure that they check their orders before they put them in and that they do so correctly. And if they want you to get off their back as far as making sure that their orders are on point, then they'll do it right the first time, you know? So, and yeah, there is a proper way to go about having that conversation with that physician, walking into their office and going, "Oh, Dr. Yarkon, you screwed up another order again." Obviously the response that you're going to get out of something like that probably is not going to be great, right? But if you take the opportunity to find some of their free time, pop your head in, hey, just wanted to bring you up to speed. I was going through the MAR doing a review and I found this medication that was ordered. Not sure that the indication makes sense. Do you have a problem, either changing that or is it something that I can change? I need to use it in like an hour, yeah, not a problem. Okay, cool. We'll get it squared away, so.
But are they also like informed of like these little things that are coming up?
Yeah, so on the physician side, Susie is working with the docs. As far as, either changes that are being made in Meditech or bringing them up to speed for survey related things, yeah.
Cause, like you said, if it's an order set and they're just clicking the order set,
True,
it's gonna come up very frequently.
true, yeah, no, absolutely, and that's one of those things, like, as I said, right? The majority of the content that they're gonna be looking for when they come through for survey is going to be the last 3 years of content. They spend a significant amount of their time actually in this room, having conversations with admin or manager staff or quality staff, or going through charts, right? Not very significant amount of their time is actually physically spent out and about walking around. They'll come and do some, except for the only exception is going to be the life safety person. The plant operations person is going to be a little mole rat going around everywhere with, a white glove on, checking for dust and doing all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the clinical folks, they're going to be spending a lot of time in this room going through our old documentation and looking for issues there, right? And then they'll want to come out and do some observations, but when they see one person do a med pass, that's pretty much going to check their box and they're going to move on to whatever the next thing is, right? They might pop over and ask somebody to, do a PPE tutorial for them real fast, right? But they're not going to spend 8 hours standing around in the med surg unit driving the staff that's on that day bonkers because everybody's a frickin' robot and can't get their jobs done, right? They fully understand that, the expectations that they have is going to be a spot check, It's like rolling through a customs check at the airport, right? You roll in, they're going to screen certain people through, right? And then they're going to they got to keep the lines moving, So unless they find something that is overtly concerning, right? That they feel that they need to do a deep dive on with the staff, then they would clue in on that, and they probably would ask a lot more people about those types of questions or for those simulations or real time executions, but for the most part, those clinical folks are gonna be looking at our charts. And most of those charts are coming out of CPSI, so.
And it's hit hard on like safety and
Yeah.
infection control, so.
Yeah.
Washing your hands in and out, or.
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff that they deem us on.
Yeah.
A lot is
Yeah.
safety.
Well, last year, the survey last year, the number one cited thing, was dust. 65% of hospitals were cited for a violation of dust. So that's one of those things that we can do as a team, right? When we're going through and we are checking rooms, we're checking our clean utility areas, we're checking our dirty utility areas, we're checking our nutrition room. And if we're finding, you know, significant accumulation of dust and bunnies and all that stuff, right? It's super easy for us to, you know, throw in, it's on the help desk. There is an EBS help desk. You can jump on there, throw it in. Hey, just wanted to bring you guys up to speed. I went into this room today and there it's dust bunnies aplenty, you know, on top of the fridge or underneath or what have you, right? Just wanted to bring this to your attention so your team has an opportunity to come through and catch this before survey, you know? So, you know, they'll be looking at restraint charting. They'll be looking at any SI or psych charting in the ED, right? So they'll be looking at falls, they'll be looking at care plans, things of that nature, right? But the majority of the content that they'll be reviewing will be out of CPSI, right? Because that's where the majority of time is spent. And then when they do complete the actual in-house, in the department, moving around surveys, right? They'll do a walkthrough, they might check some of our actual expiration dates on things, right? But it'll be pretty quick. I mean, they'll be in and out in less than an hour, more than likely. So I cannot say in any survey that I have ever gone through, which I think I've gone through about 4 or 5 now. I haven't done any here, but I have done several when I was working up in Havasu. They're very quick when they come through the departments, mostly because they don't want to disrupt normal operations, right? They don't want to disrupt us being able to do our jobs and take us away from patient care. So they're very understanding and respectful of that. So. Cool. And the answer is never, I don't know. The answer is always, I will find out and come back to you
To them.
and do so. Okay? All right, anybody else?
Can we use Ask Keenan? He knows it.
Oh, I know it. I do know everything. This is true. No. No, we've got tons of resources throughout the hospital. So there'll be even more content that I'll have coming out. So there's, you know, obviously all of the administrative team, right? So myself, Dana, Michelle, Tricia, Denise, we're all working very closely together as far as putting tip sheets and whatnot together for you guys. There'll probably be put together a kind of like a I'm in a crisis survey binder, right? Like they ask me a question that shit I don't know the answer to and I don't know where to look. And the first page is literally going to be a list of phone numbers that you can call. So you come back from the nurse's station, you grab that binder and you go, oh, they asked a question about policy and procedure. I don't know the answer. I went to look in the policy book. I couldn't find what I was looking for. You open that book, go down to the person that's identified for policy and procedure stuff. You shoot them a call real fast. They pick up the phone. You say, this is my question. Surveyor asked me. I'm trying to find the answer. They'll either tell you where to find it or tell you exactly what the policy is so you can take it back to them. So, like a little survey rapid response team. Okay. All right. More to come on survey stuff as we go. Like I said, this is a team effort. I need your guys' help on these things. Okay. And if you have ideas, if you see gaps, right? If you see gaps in the department, things that need to be worked on and you don't see anybody working on it, you've got ideas that you want to bring forwards, okay? Bring them to me. Bring them to me. And seek out your team leads. Your team leads are working on a variety of different projects that they need help on too, right? So seek them out, ask them what they're working on, right? And see if it's something that you can help them with. Go enjoy your weekend. If you can, I'll see you guys tomorrow, VFW, 12 o'clock, for Ann's husband's celebration of life. Take it easy.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.